Amber Heard, villain in victim's clothing. Hashtag believe Amber Heard. I'm going to talk about a wide range of subjects that all fall under the umbrella of the Me Too movement, culture, white males are all rapists. You know, just general thoughts on this subject. I guess first a little on the subject of sexual orientation. First, I'd like to note that I'm not an expert on gender studies or sexual orientations. I'm a straight male, and I don't understand anything else. So a month or two ago on Facebook, I wrote about transgenders and how I'll never actually see them as the sex that they claim to be. I'm happy to call you a female if you're a man that got his, privates cut off. But I'll never actually see you as a woman, and I would never date a transgender who became a woman. Now, this ended up hurting somebody's feelings who was a transgendered. And he wrote to me and said, I don't know what to say, but at least now I know what you're all about. And I talked to an intelligent friend of mine about it, and he made a couple of really good points. See, okay, first of all, I thought that my Facebook wall is my safe place where I get to talk about anything I want, and I have absolute freedom of speech there. And I've always prided myself on saying whatever I felt whatever was on my mind, even if it might make me look awful. Anyhow, what he taught me, and because the only reason I listened to him is because he was not adversarial, but he is just helping me. He was informing me. And he made some good points. He said, first of all, your Facebook wall is not private. It's public. And it's not yours necessarily. I mean, it shows up on people's things. And then the main thing he said, though, is why you got to ask yourself why you felt the need to mention that you would never dig a transgender, or that you'll never really consider them to be the sex that they claim to be. Because what purpose would that serve? And then that made me realize, yeah, it is wrong for me to say that. Like, that the transgenders out there don't need to hear that. They're not interested in hearing that I would never date them. They're not asking me what my opinion is. So why am I offering an opinion on something that doesn't even relate to me or affect my life in any way? So then I don't think genders are asking you to think that they're actually what they want to be. They're just asking to be left alone and not badgered about it. Really. Anyways, so I apologize to the person, and I've reassessed my behavior and personality on Facebook. Now, I don't mind saying very shocking things if I know that I'm not actually hateful or trying to hurt anybody. I've said things very similar to some of James Gunn's tweets, although I think mine were funnier. And I can understand why James Gunn would do that. This is what I think. He, like me, was somewhat anonymous, obscure. Nobody knew who he was. So he was just doing anything he could to get attention. So he was just purposely saying shocking things to get more views. And so I can kind of understand that, and I'm willing to do that too, if I want to get more attention. But at this point, I don't think I do want more attention. So I don't really feel the need anymore to be as profane or shocking in my behavior. But I'll still do it for fun sometimes. And sometimes I do want attention. And also, I like shocking myself. Like, I've got family members on my Facebook, and some of the things I've written, I do it just to scare myself. Because I know some of them are going to read that, and they're going to think, oh my God, he's crazy. For example, this isn't especially shocking, but one day I wrote on Facebook, I go, my penis reduction surgery was a complete failure. Now, my grandparents are on Facebook. They may have read that. They wouldn't like that, but it was still funny. And come on. And I'm not a religious person, but so if I write something about how I don't believe in God or make fun of Jesus or something, that could potentially upset some of my family members. But then again, I can't just live the life that they want me to live and pretend like I don't believe what I believe. Like there's comes a point when you have to be able to speak your mind. But that's just, I'm saying there's that's separate from hurting somebody's feelings or saying something that's hurtful. And I guess how that relates to the Me Too movement and all of this gender stuff is that people are often attacked for their comments when their comments were not made to hurt anybody, and they may not even be hurtful. For example, one time I was at a party and my friend made a joke about a heart attack, and some guy got really mad at him and said, you know, my father had a heart attack. I don't appreciate that. And it's like, okay, so now we can't make jokes about heart attacks because one person's father had a heart attack. I mean, you wouldn't be able to joke about anything. Yeah, so back on the subject of transgenders, or transsexuals. Well, I don't even know the difference really. But when you say to a transgender something like, or you even say in public, like, somebody who has a sex change is not actually a woman, that I think is equivalent to like using the N-word, because I think that's how it hits them. And so I think that's why it should be avoided. It's just mean. In the similar ways, I think using the word bitch, that needs to go, because it's just distasteful. It doesn't even feel good saying it. Even when you're calling a man a bitch, it's just so bad, you know? It really is the same as the N-word. And I don't think anybody would argue that there aren't wonderful things about the Me Too movement. I don't think anybody out there. I think it would be rare for there to be a misogynist out there who says the Me Too movement is awful or something. Because it's not. I don't think anybody's going to say it's bad that people are prosecuting Harvey Weinstein. Or leave R. Kelly alone. Or believe Bill Cosby. That's a very small minority. So the people who are out there and saying that if you don't like the movie Captain Marvel, then you're a misogynist. And if you don't like the Ghostbusters remake, then you're a misogynist. You hate women. And if you don't like the new Star Wars, you hate women. Because, yeah, it's a small amount of people anyways. It's negligible. It's irrelevant. And it might be equivalently distasteful to making a negative comment about a woman. Right? Like, if every white man is a racist and a rapist, then that allows the real rapists and racists to sort of say, hey, you're crying wolf. Like Harvey Weinstein, Amber Heard's probably the best thing that happened to him. He's probably, when he hears about it, he's probably like, you see, women lie. Women lie. That proves it. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some differences between men and women. Because guess what? There are. Yeah, it's dangerous being a female and walking down a dark alley at 3 a.m. I love walking, to the lake at 3 a.m. And it just recently occurred to me, a woman can't do that. A woman can't just go walk into a forest at 3 a.m. or, downtown at 3 a.m. And that's something that's constantly, they're constantly having to be on guard about. I first became aware of this. I was walking down a dark alley with a very attractive girl at like 2 a.m, maybe a few years ago. And I remember she goes, wow, so this is what it's like to be a man. Like, you can just walk down a dark alley. And that kind of blew my mind, because I never thought about that. And now I'll give a few examples about what maybe a lot of women don't realize about how much it sucks to be a man. If you're a guy and you're hitting on or dating a girl who's very attractive, every guy wants to beat you up. I went to a bar with one girl once, and I just went to the bathroom, and then I come back, and she goes, the bartender just said to me to ditch you, and that I should give him my phone number. And like, she was all mad. And so I said to him, I go, look, I don't appreciate you hitting on my girlfriend when she wasn't my girlfriend, but I just said that, hitting on my girlfriend when I'm in the bathroom. And he grabbed me by the neck and threw me out of the bar. And of course I was laughing. I'm like, oh my God, are you this weak? Are you this insecure? And I just started laughing at him, and she laughed at him too. And then he got even more mad and sort of violent. But there's just an example. Another example, I was walking with another girl, And these guys in a car honked their horn at her because I guess they were hitting on her. And she yelled at them and gave them the finger. And I look at them, and they're all staring at me. And I'm like, okay, she's going to get me. She's going to get my ass kicked. It would have been close. I wouldn't be surprised if they were thinking they were very close to that. And on the subject of women feeling unrealistically entitled, another girl that I knew, she told me a story about how her and her sister went to a punk rock concert. And her sister had underarm hair that grew, and it was dyed. She dyed it like red or something, or green or something. And a bunch of punk rocking guys started laughing at her and making fun of her. And she gave them the finger and like told them off. And then the guys after the concert, or like I don't know when, they chased them and they like hit her sister. And my friend was saying that she was crying about how like they couldn't believe that a man would do that to a woman. And I absolutely agree. But we don't live in Disneyland. And yeah, you should be able to go around and tell people to F off and it shouldn't amount to violence, but that's just not the way it works. And there's a lot of nuts out there. And you went to a punk rock concert, a place that's generally going to be filled with uneducated degenerates who are addicted to drugs and whatnot, and you're going to give them the finger. You expect it to just go smoothly. On the same note, like, whether you're a guy or a girl, I don't think you should go to a stranger's house at 3 a.m. I've seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, what Jeffrey Dahmer used to do. You don't just go to a stranger's house at 3 a.m. So when a girl does that, and then something bad happens, I mean, it's not your fault. Like, it's not you weren't asking to be abused or raped or anything, but it's just irresponsible for anybody to do. I mean, hey, you could go to a girl's house who's a stranger at 3 a.m. and she could do something crazy. So when you were a kid and your parents said don't talk to strangers, maybe it didn't just apply to children. Maybe it applies permanently. Be careful around strangers. Regardless of gender, there's a lot of sick people out there. Really sick, corrupt people. There's psychopaths out there. So I mean, if somebody was to say that a woman shouldn't wear a G-string and a bra, or walk around naked in high heels down a dark alley in South Central LA at 3 a.m, is it a misogynistic thing to say? Or is it just like, just protect yourself? I mean, I wouldn't walk down a dark alley with a big wad of cash, hanging out of my pocket. And it doesn't mean I deserve to be robbed if I was sitting on the bus with $1,000 bills falling out of my pocket. Speaking of that, I remember I watched this awful movie called Speed. Or was it called Speed? It was called Crash. And I was like, it's supposed to be about like a lesson about racism. I was like, wait, this isn't about racism. This is just about stupidity. Like, all these people did really dumb things. And that's why they're trying to make the moral like you shouldn't be racist. But the moral of that movie was like, don't be an idiot. Back to Amber Heard, who is the voice of the umbrella, as I said, of all the entire topic I'm talking about. She's getting old for this behavior. She's now in her 30s, and she's still acting like a 12-year-old. Her career, women age like dogs. I mean, like, every year in Hollywood, they are perceived, in terms of looks, like they age like dogs. 7 years for every year. Or a more polite expression is women age like grapes, men age like wine. Now, I didn't make that rule. It's not a stereotype. It generally is just, I mean, youth, soft skin tends to be something that is attractive in a woman. Men having rough skin tends to be attractive. When I was in my 20s, I was lanky. Men in their 20s look ridiculous. In their 30s, they start filling out. It's not a stereotype to say that women are into men that are older. It's just the way it goes, or that men are into women that are younger. That's not misogynistic. That's, I mean, it's not saying that it'll always work like that. And in a perfect world, people would just dig each other for their personalities, right? But it just generally is the situation. Women prefer men. I mean, studies have proven this, that it's not a stereotype. It might be nurture. It might not be nature. I mean, that's a question. But it is what goes on. Women dig men that are taller than them. And so, one thing I heard, I think it was Jordan Peterson. Now, you can't say his name. He's taboo. I don't really care, because what he said I thought was pretty good. He said, studies have shown women date men that are taller than them. Men date women that are shorter than them. So, if you're a woman who's 5'11", that cuts down on the men you're attracted to. There's only going to be like 5% of all men out there that you're going to be interested in. So it sucks. If to that in that regard. Oh yeah, the other thing was that women tend to like men that are smarter than them, and not vice versa. Men do not like women who they feel are smarter than them, or more accomplished, or more successful. So, a woman who has a PhD, that also cuts down on the amount of men she's going to be attracted to, and it also cuts down on the amount of men that are going to be attracted to her. And again, I'm not saying this is the way it is always. It's not a rule, but it tends to be the instincts or whatever. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm just reciting what I've heard elsewhere. I could be wrong about all of this. And I'm sure there's examples of a woman who's much taller than her husband. Because, you know what? Because they're deep enough to care about each other, because they love each other's personalities. And that transcends physical attributes. However, in general, it doesn't happen. And in my case, I would say it wouldn't happen. I would not want to date a girl who is taller than me. I'm 6 feet tall, so I'm okay. But I wouldn't want to date a girl who's taller than me. I don't think anybody is smarter than me, so I'm not really worried in that regard. But I guess if a girl was smarter than me, maybe, or more accomplished than me, it might kind of make me feel small in. Oh, and another statistic is that women like a man that's bigger than them. So, like, it doesn't matter how overweight you are if you're a female. Hold on, let me rephrase that. If you're a woman, you don't need to be skinny. You just need to be smaller than your boyfriend. And if you're a male, you don't need to be. You do need to be bigger than your girlfriend. That's generally the attraction, the way it works. The notes I took were a bit lacking in structure. I may be repeating myself on certain points. I don't think so, though. In regards to Amber Heard saying that she's a lesbian 10 years ago, and now she's dating a girl, I think that is not, she's not I don't think she's a real lesbian. I think that she does it for attention. Women know for a fact that guys think it's hot when girls do make out with each other and stuff. And I think that's often a reason why they engage in it. They know it drives men crazy. And also, certain women, like Amber Heard, I think, they just want as much attention as possible, so it doesn't really matter. Any kind of attention, no matter whatever your age, your gender. If you're into me, that's great. I love it. I think the term is lipstick lesbians. I have more faith in a man who says he's bisexual, because that's generally not as... girls don't think that's hot, stereotypically. Now, in regards to pronouns, it's become a thing where basically you should either avoid saying he or she, or you should say them. You shouldn't say that your wife is your wife. The politically correct thing is to call her your partner, because that's more sensitive to people who are gay, or transgendered or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But if we're going to do that, we got to go a step further. If your husband is your partner, and you're not allowed to say husband, and you're not allowed to say wife, you're not allowed to say girlfriend, you're not allowed to say boyfriend, well, then you shouldn't be allowed to say mother or father either. You should just say parent. My parent. Oh, my parent will be there. Which one? Oh, the parent named Doug. And you shouldn't say sister or brother anymore. You should say siblings. So, I mean, like, you might as well, because it is insulting, I suppose, to somebody who's transgendered or who's who doesn't know what their gender is, or, you know, because now there's a lot of genders. So we can't say sister or brother or mother or father or grandmother or grandfather, grandparent. I don't know if anybody's thought of this already. They probably have, but I came up with it myself because I find it very hypocritical when people call their boyfriend their partner, but then they call their mother their mother. In fact, according to this logic, it would be wrong for you to refer to yourself as a man or a female because gender doesn't exist anymore. So, because if I call myself a man, that's insulting to all women. Or something. Or to say that I'm straight is insulting to everybody who's not straight. Because straight, yeah, why wouldn't it? Yeah, straight suggests, it implies normal. Straight, right? Normal. Yeah, so like basically it really is, according to a certain climate, which I'm not sure whether I agree or disagree with it. I really don't know. But according to that, I think it is offensive to say that you're straight. Oh, so in regards to Amber Heard getting old, I just mean that, like, I think she's already hit her high as an actress. And even if she hasn't, she would only have 10 years left anyways. Scarlett Johansson probably has 10 years left. Unless she's able to transition into the old lady MILF category. Because, yeah, what is she like? She's like 35 at least at this point? I don't know. But I mean, at least Scarlett Johansson carries herself with some decorum, with some self-respect. She seems like a self-respecting woman, just like Angelina Jolie. Amber Heard carries herself like a 12-year-old, and that's not going to look good when she hits 40 and she needs to play the mother role. I'm going to finish with a quote from Chris Rock, and I'm paraphrasing. I don't really like stand-up comedy. I find it interesting, not so much funny. But anyways, so what he said is basically what does a girl's friend say? If a girl tells her friend, I'm dating a guy, what's the first question her friend asks? What does he do? When a guy is dating a girl and he tells his guy friend about it, what's the first thing the guy asks? Is she hot? So that just shows you there is, and it's not stereotypical. It's stereotypical is much different than, has been proven in studies and whatnot. It doesn't always have to be that way. A woman could be rich and the guy could be hot. But by and large, that's the way it works. A guy is only however good his job is. And a girl is generally only as good looking as she is. And I mean, I encourage anyone to try it out. Be like, say to one of your female friends, I just met a new guy, and see what her first question is. And vice versa with guys. Okay, so that's all. Thank you. Subscribe actually if you like this content, because it does make me make more videos if I think people actually are listening. If you like gays, click like. If you like blacks, comment. If you like women, click notification bell. If you like gay women, subscribe. And if you like gay black women, Patreon, Human Warning.